You can give me this. You can give me that. You can give me this. You can give me that. It's not enough. Well, hello. Lucky you. Thank you. You're welcome. How y'all doing, man? Today I'm going to talk about Johnny Thunders. Johnny Thunders. So I'm wearing my old school. You guys can see this. This thing is beat up. My Johnny Thunders. I busted this out. I usually wouldn't wear this. I mean, it's got it's barely together. Love me some Johnny Thunders. Oh, and I'm playing my Johnny Thunders TV Yellow Junior. Yeah. Very cool. So yeah, Johnny. Originally he was the new guitarist of the New York Dolls, and I also do episode about the New York Dolls. But yeah, Johnny Thunders. The New York Dolls released like 2 albums, and this kind of faded into and then Johnny technically started the Heartbreakers with Jerry from the New York Dolls. Anyway, everybody knows this. I mean, I get it. People have their own, but technically Johnny wasn't like the best guitar player. But some of his stuff is just so simple and cool. I mean, 50s, But he could write a great song. Amazing song. I think that they asked Bob Dylan, like, what song do you think? What song would you like to have written? And Dylan's like, "Can't Put Your Arm Around a Memory" by Johnny Thunders. I mean, fucking Dylan. And Dylan's again, he's great as well. But Johnny always played this. He had a couple of these. It was like a 58 or 59 TV Yellow Junior. And he had problems, man. I don't know, nobody's perfect, And also, he got ripped off. Everybody has, even if they don't even know it, from his hair to his clothes to his music to everything. Like in wholesale amounts. Just give me. I'll take everybody. Kiss. I mean, well, Kiss was named after the New York Dolls had a song "Looking for a Kiss," and it was kind of popular. They just yeah. Totally changed their stuff. Kiss was like a Wicked Lester. There's some kind of like hippie band. They see the Dolls, are like, what is this? And a lot of people, myself included, like, I can't pull off that Johnny Thunders hair and all that. I'm not really fashion oriented or what, but his music and his songs. I mean, again, people, there's different people. Certain songs touch this part. That's what for me it was Johnny Thunders. And I remember seeing him when I was a kid in the 70s. I saw, it was maybe the Midnight Special, one of those older shows. And that was it for me. Kiss and the New York Dolls. I was like, oh, what's it? And they kind of spawned that punk rock thing too. I mean, New York Dolls were kind of the first. People claim it's like the first glam band, but they were more punk. A lot of those punk bands, worshipped at the altar of New York Dolls. And then Johnny, that first Sex Pistol tour that was banned, they went on TV and cursed. Whether Johnny was on that tour, it was like Sex Pistols, Johnny Thunders, and the Heartbreakers, and the Damned. And I think out of the 40 shows, they only did like a few. Most of them were like, and again, Johnny had problems. I'm surprised he could travel overseas as much as he could in his solo days. And he passed in April of '91. Sad day. I was working at a record store when I heard it, and nobody knew Johnny Thunder. But me and the owner, the guy who was older than me, he owned the store. We both were like, and he was kind of surprised, like, "You're a fan?" I was like, "Yeah, dude." And then when I was in Love Engineer, and I was in Love Engineer from like 91 to 94, 95. And we were more of a harder band, tuned down the D and C and G. But there was a little part in the set that Darren would like, hand me his Les Paul, and I would do "You Can't Put Your Arms Around a Memory," sometimes kind of drunkenly, and that's why I did it, just to like, needed something simple. And people were like, "What the hell? Who? What? Sing?" And then I started collecting again, buying every kind of, because he doesn't have uh, a lot of. I mean, he does. I mean, he never really had anything released in America. He had like one album in Europe. There's all these bootlegs and live shows and this, that, and the other thing. So I started collecting those, and then over a year after, and I would go around LA. I would scour all those cool, hip, you know. This is where I got this shirt, the Johnny Thunder shirt, probably late 90s, early 2000s, 20 years ago. And I would run into other Uber fans and these little, LA used to have so many cool, maybe they do, maybe let's come back with like little hip, obscure music stores, that sold like Charles Manson music, which I'll do a Charles Manson episode too. But yeah, I would find, and I found I don't know when they released it, maybe like 2003, 2004. They released the Thunder's show, Johnny Thunder's at the Roxy. And it's kind of like a reunion. So it's like Johnny, Jerry Nolan, who's the drummer of New York Dolls, and then the bass player of the Dolls. And I've seen, again, I'm pathetic. I'm an ass. I've watched that thing 1,000. I used to put it when I lived in Highland Park. I would just throw that on. Like the soundtrack to the Echo House in Highland Park was Johnny Thunder's, and we wore out the Exile on Main Street album. In fact, I turned people on. We were like, "Oh my God, that's my favorite album." And we just play it. And it's a double album. Just throw that on, and I would have. I used to have like I still do. I mean, I have a lot of Johnny's CDs and bootlegs and acoustic shows, but I used to have a lot more. I used to buy stuff off like eBay, and like 2009, I sold my Thunders collection, and it sold quick. I put it online. Bam, dude drove from like San Diego to Granada Hills to buy it, and I kind of lowballed it, Yeah, Johnny Thunders. And if you go down that rabbit hole of Johnny, you're gonna his mysterious death in New Orleans, which is kind of, something isn't right. They should have looked into that. I guess they still could, but he's just not a junkie dad. Who cares? He overdosed. And honestly, I don't think he overdosed. I think he died of like leukemia. Like something isn't right. Granted, he might have been ill. I guess he was when he died. But that last tour he did in Japan, he's not looking good, man. He's looking rough. And then he was moving to New Orleans to start anew, record with, I think, Dr. John and a couple other people. He got to New Orleans that night and was found dead like the next day. And there's all kinds of shady shit going on. All his passport was missing, all his methadone, all his money. And the cops didn't even look into it, all his clothing. And people around that time said, yeah, you go down, Bourbon Street at that time, people were wearing his hats and clothes. Like it was obvious somebody, ripped him off, killed him, or whatever happened. And it's a shame that they haven't, 48 hours, all those shows. Look at, why haven't they done one for Johnny Thunders, man? They do it for every other scumbag. And yeah, he doesn't get the credit that and it's funny how he will touch people. At the time when I lived in North Hollywood, I had a roommate, and the living room was set up with basically like a recording studio. He was a graphic designer, and he worked with bands, and he would design like album covers. pardon me, backdrops for bands. So it was all comings and goings in the apartment. And these people, I was a Johnny. I've always had, not this one, but I've had TV juniors. I've made my own relics. I've had a bunch of these. So I'd be around the house, and here I am. They're like, "Well, Johnny," they wouldn't know. These are people that like supposedly are like hip musicians that are. Some of them are well known. Who's John? Oh, I kind of heard. So I'm not going to name any names, but back in the day, my band Levinger opened for this guy's band, and then years later, I'd see him in LA. Matter of fact, he'd be at our house. You know, my roommate was working for his band, like making stuff for him, and flyers, and doing like art. And they were more of like a makeup glam kind of outrageous, you know. Personally, I didn't like them. I mean, even when I was in Levinger, when we opened for his other band, I didn't like them. And that night we opened for them, they were rude, man. Not only to me, but to the club Mabels. They were rude to the people at the club. People at the Mabels were like, "Who the fuck these guys?" You know. And when I say uncool, like they didn't give us a sound check. It was just douchebaggery. You know, they're threatened because we kind of blew them off the stage, kind of thing. You guys are bad. No, we just you have to again. You have to play after the mighty ear, Love Engineer. I get it. I mean, I wouldn't want to do it. So this guy, I ran into him in Hollywood. He's in my, living room basically, or our living room, I should say. And I had Johnny Thunder's books. I had multiple. I had the old, the ones that were, and he was be around, hanging out. He was reading, and he was like, "I didn't know," and I couldn't. I kind of lit into him. I'm like, "How do you not know?" I mean, you prancing around like you are, like and you don't know, like he know John, the punk rock didn't know. In fact, he didn't know anything about punk rock. But it touched him, and he would always read this book. And finally, he's like, "Hey, can I borrow it?" I'm like, yeah, why not? And when he brought back, it was all pages missing and beat up all to hell, looked like a dog had been chewing on it. Oh well. And that was an expensive book. Matter of fact, I ended up selling it for like $100. But yeah, he John literally, and he would we'd have these conversations. We kind of, hey, we've Johnny Thunders, and he's looking at me like, "Man, you are cool," and he changed his whole thing. That band didn't last that long, and then he cut his hair a bit, and wearing coats with the collar, pulling that whole Johnny Thunders thing off, and probably to this day he's and he told me, he goes, "Wow, as old as I am, it's so like refreshing. I thought that I wouldn't rediscover someone." And he thanked me. He was like, "Man, thank you. I wouldn't have known." And again, I was like, "How do you not know?" But I mean, everybody's what they are. I personally don't like Johnny's like, what his personal life, like the drugs, and but people have problems. It's mental health issues, and whatever. I've dealt with it myself, so I'm not like pointing the finger. But yeah, he helped me. I studied those simple songs, and it kind of helped me write my songs. Like I learned a lot from, and I'm stealing from Johnny. I mean, we all are. Everybody, especially that whole '80s, Nikki Sixx and all the Poison, all that was basically in wholesale amounts taken from the New York Dolls and Johnny Thunders. And these major labels would not even throw Johnny a bone. Like, I get it. You're dealing with like, a guy who's a junkie. But everybody's a junkie. They were all, I guess, when you're super junkie and you're the king of the junkies, it's different. But there were people that, you just deal with it. He never did. As a matter of fact, when he passed in 91, Sire released, he had a solo album in 78, So Alone, which is amazing. Johnny Thunders, So Alone. Go get it. Download it, whatever you got to do. Go to YouTube, watch it, listen to it for free. Great album. And everybody plays on it, man. But that was only in a European release. They didn't release that in America till after he was dead. Think about that. Like all his fans, it was an import only. And Sire released it in 99. It's a shame, man. And what I like about Johnny is I've seen pretty much every interview. He never said a word. He played it cool. He was like, yeah, hey, man. And I kind of stole that attitude too. It's kind of like people will, just because people are, just don't say anything, don't react to people. My grandmother used to say, if someone else jumped off a bridge, would you? And it's just like, no, just because someone else is doing something, don't play it off. Don't say anything. Don't let them know. And going, when you get on Facebook and stuff, I've got just about everybody that was in his band or kind of connected to as friends in Facebook. And Facebook friends, you talk to them online, and people are passing. Sylvain passed recently. He was the other guitarist in the New York Dolls. I used to see Sylvain in Hollywood. Walter, the guitarist in the Heartbreakers, Walter Lure, he passed recently. And I actually became friends. Well, again, these are online friends. I never met these, Luigi was, I love Luigi. Luigi was the guitarist and sometimes bass player. Luigi in the early 80s was in Johnny's band. And he, there's a lot of video with Johnny with Luigi in the band. And again, sometimes he's playing guitar, sometimes he's playing bass. And Luigi, I mean, I haven't met Luigi personally, but as far as like online, we've talked. A cool dude, really cool guy. So we would chat online, like, hey, it's like cool guy. Matter of fact, on my birthday back in the day, he used to post like little videos. So happy birthday to me. And Henry Paul, who was also in Johnny's band. Henri Paul, cool dude. He's French. So again, I've never met Henry except online. And back in the day, how long ago it was, but I was still in Los Angeles, and I knew that Henry was, I think, coming to LA. And I just didn't get around to meeting him. But great guys. I mean, they answer your emails, and you can chat online, and they're cool. And again, that didn't like most people. Believe me, I've tried to just reach out to people and say, hey, love what you're doing, and then you get scolded. I don't know if this ever happened to you. And I quit. This is what I quit going up to people. I'm not a fanboy, but some of the most douchebaggery I've ever dealt with is just trying to be nice to people. Like, hey, I love what you're. I could attack you for being a fan. Luigi and Henry Paul were not like that. They were super cool. And Phyllis, who was the wife of Jerry Nolan, nice. Again, I've never met her. When I saw her chatting, I was like, hey, when you come to LA, I'll take you out to lunch. She's like, yeah. But I've moved and it didn't happen. But I also, there's this like legendary leather jacket that it's black with like white. And if you look at those old pictures, you'll see Sid Vicious wearing it. You'll see Johnny wearing it. You'll see Jerry Nolan wearing it. And there's a lot of pictures with that mystery jacket. And I was going to buy that from Phyllis. I mean, I was negotiating like, yeah, I should, and quite honestly, it was a lot of money and it wouldn't fit me. It was like a medium, I'm a bigger dude. And I was set to buy it. But, in life, like sometimes like financial stuff comes up. I don't know what it was. Maybe like my car, I needed something. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't, because it was, quite a bit of money for just a jacket. But man, I wish I would have got it. And I explained to Phil, because we'd already like, yeah, I was going to tell how I was going to pay. Blah, blah, blah. And I say, look, I can't, something came up. And that's just how it is. And I kind of felt stupid because I hate when people do like back out on a deal. And I usually wouldn't, but do what you got to do. But Henry Paul, Johnny Thunders. Oh, and there's a movie about Johnny it's one of the worst movies ever made. It's kind of like a horror movie too. It's stupid. I don't see why people just don't make a damn good movie about this guy. Or there's some documentaries out there about Johnny that are amazing. The last one that came out around, and I forgot the guy's name. I'm sorry. I'm a dumbass. But yeah, they a lot of cool people are fanboys. Bob Dylan. Like, what song do you think you You Wish You'd Have Wrote, and Can't Put Your Arm Around a Memory. And if you don't know that song, like it's a great song. And it's been a bunch of movies. As soon as you hear it, you'll know. Most people are like, oh, that song. But also one thing about Johnny is he kind of taught me that anybody can do it. Like, again, he's not, again, what he does, he's the master, I believe. But, bar chords and just 50s licks. And he was the king of the slop, just sloppy as, hey, scumbag. But on it, again, there's videos on YouTube, and there are some horrible, horrible live shows of Johnny, unfortunately. Him getting in fights, and, but then there's some amazing, that Roxy show. I recommend watching the Johnny Thunders Roxy, like 86. And looking through, I was looking into that and meeting people in LA. And I think he did like 3 shows that weekend, and Jet Boy opened one, LA Guns opened the other, and like Guns N' Roses opened. And I heard that, or I read somewhere that Johnny almost got in a fight with an unknown Axl Rose, or a, relatively unknown Axl Rose. He made fun of his like chaps he was wearing, and hey, don't take it personal. But yeah, he taught me to be myself and not, concentrate on the song. When you first start writing, I didn't even know like verse, chord. I didn't even know what a bridge. So that's what I concentrated on instead of I knew I always would play and sing even as a kid, and I would work on my lead. But when I started jamming with people, there were guys that were rhythm players, and there was guys that just concentrated on lead playing, like shredding. And I concentrated on like singing and playing rhythm and just like, crafting a song. I'm not saying I'm the best songwriter, but I learned most of what I know from Johnny. Just stealing shit to wholesale amounts. I mean, I'm one of them too. In my mind, he's like kind of my punk rock Elvis, and a lot of other bands, The Clash, all those dudes, worship at the altar of Johnny Thunders. And again, if you haven't heard of Johnny, go out there and, first just YouTube some stuff. Listen to those Dolls albums. But I would start with like So Alone, his solo album, So Alone, a great album. And you might have heard some of those songs on the album. Dee Dee Ramone was a fanboy. He wrote songs for Johnny. And he actually, there's a story about Dee Dee getting into some kind of art, fight with Johnny in Paris. They were in Paris doing something or other, putting up a band together. And Dee Dee like broke his guitar and cut up his clothes, poured bleach on his clothes, And they were, they might have, Dee Dee might have been in a wrong, state of mind. I'll do a Dee Dee Ramone episode as well. I was supposed to be meeting Dee Dee before he passed. He was living in LA and doing art, and I knew the guy he was doing. Anyway, we'll talk about that. But yeah, Johnny, love the TV yellow guitars. And again, this wasn't even a real gift. This was made by a luthier in like San Gabriel Valley. But I've had a lot of these. There's a lot of companies that will make just a knockoff, and they kind of overdid whoever made this was kind of overdid it a bit, but it sounds great. Sounds amazing. I love this guitar. It's my baby. So yeah, New York Dolls, Johnny Thunders, the Dead Boys, Stiv Bators. And right at the end of his life, he was supposed to be, so Stiv Bators, Johnny Thunders, and Dee Dee Ramone were supposed to put a band together. And I think they recorded some songs. But right around that time, the same time that it's weird because Johnny died in April of 91. And so did Steve Marriott, the singer for Humble Pie. Love Steve Marriott. I actually knew his son back in the day in Hollywood. Um, but yeah, I mean, and Steve Marriott played on So Alone, the Johnny Thunders album, So Alone. And he died, I think it was he died first, and like 7 to 10 days later, Johnny died. And Stiv died around maybe in 90. A lot of those, they were dropped, bam, 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 sad. Yeah, it's sad that people, don't make it. But go out there, discover new music, discover Johnny Thunders. Again, forget about if you go down that rabbit hole, you're going to see some kind of sad performances from him. But hey, you'll find the good ones. In some of his interviews, he's just really funny. Watch the documentary. I can't think of the name of the documentary with the last one they put up, but it's a good one. And there's another one that was around in the 90s. There's like different versions of it. The Last Rock and Roll Movie. I've watched there's a ton of at least 5 or 6. But yeah, that last one they did, really good. Interviews everybody, shows some great footage. And nobody's perfect. And in music, you don't have to be technically great. Again, going back to Bob Dylan, he's tone deaf, man. He's the biggest rock star in the world. You don't have to be on pitch. Johnny's voice, he got kind of moaning. I love it. I mean, sometimes when people are like pitch perfect and singing, I don't like that. I mean, yeah, technically, but there's no mojo. So take a page out of Johnny Thunders' book. Just 3-chord rock and roll. Write a catchy tune. Connect with your audience. I loved how Johnny used to bait. I kind of took that, even in the 11 Years days. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, and there's somebody, "You're doing Johnny Thunders, man." I was like, "Yeah." This was back in the day, like in the 90s, it's you got to steal from somebody, or take, I should say, take. And I took wholesale amounts from Johnny and the Dolls. And to this day, he's my favorite guitarist, singer. So go out there and check that out. I'm going to do more about Johnny. I might have like a series of Johnny Thunders, or have people come on and interview. We'll talk about Johnny. A lot of these things I'm doing right now, I'm kind of feeling myself out. Like, hey, and I'm going to have series of, I'm going to talk about the craziest. You're going to think this guy's a madman. But hey, so if you like, share, and subscribe, if you want to support the channel, it's in the description. There's Zelle information you can hook up. And again, I love y'all. Go out, listen to, at least turn on some Johnny. Go to YouTube. Just find something. You might not like it, but yeah, I love y'all. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.